Welcome to the United Stand. If you're watching live, we're bang live on time. That's got to be worth a like. I'm never right on time, but I am tonight. We're talking Paul Pogba's big Manchester United regret, and we're also going to be very interactive tonight. So we're taking your questions. We've got a couple of other things I want to talk about as well. But let's start off with Paul Pogba's big Manchester United regret. Now, this is following the Manchester derby, where he said fantastic performance in the second half. Really pleased with it, but it just highlights to me that this is what we should have been doing all season, and if we had, we would be up there with Manchester City. So lamenting Paul, I reckon, there, and I think he's got to look at himself personally, maybe the manager, and certainly the players and the performances over the season, because the reality is, Manchester City, for all the banter about going out to Liverpool, and they will be gutted by that, by the way, and for all the banter about winning the Manchester derby, I must just explain to somebody. Somebody commented this week and said, we were saying Manchester is red, and somebody was saying, well, no, 16 points clear or anything like that. Look, I know there's a lot of new Man City fans out there in the world now, and they're buying the shirts and they're chucking the Chelsea ones in the bin. But Manchester is red or Manchester is blue is not based on where you are in the league. It's a derby, and Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson dominated English football for over 20 years. But Man City still beat us a couple of times, and Manchester is blue. It's a derby. Whoever wins that gets the bragging rights within Manchester for however long till the next game. So there's no comeback with how many points you've got. Well, there is a little bit, but Manchester is red because we won the derby. That's what it means. So your little only your points thing. Look, I'm not from Manchester, but I know that, and a lot of people know that. That's what it means. It's when you win the derby. So, you know, and Man City fans of old will know that as well. So, yeah, Pogba talking about whether, the disappointment of this season and how the derby win has sort of tinged that. Yeah, you know what? I think we are where we are. I think we are where we are this season. Sevilla is a nightmare that I still keep having. And there are other results that have just been not very good. I mean, people obviously talk about Huddersfield and Newcastle, but there was the draws over Christmas. Burnley and Southampton at home, back-to-back draws. We were awful then. The Manchester derby at Old Trafford was awful tactically. There's been enough points this season, too many points that we've dropped, that I don't think we can lament too much about or what could have been. I don't think we're ready to win the title this year. And as a United fan, and as many other people would surely testify, I think we are where we are. Second place actually is quite an achievement for the sort of up and down rollercoaster season we've had, especially in relation to the way they're playing. But as things stand, I thought the second half against Man City was good. I think Mourinho looks like he's trying to play a more expansive, pressing game of football, which Manchester United fans demand. And 3 games in 6 days coming up. Spurs a week tomorrow. If we see that football over the next 3 games and we take that into the summer and we buy the right players and we go into next season that way, I'm happy with that. And that's what we'll look at winning a title next year. As I've said a few times, we will win, Fion, we will win the title. Sorry, Mourinho will either win us the title next year or he will leave. I know a lot of people think, he never stays anywhere longer than 3 years. But they've got a feeling he's going to stay at United a little bit longer than that. The reality is, if he doesn't win the title next year, he's got to go. And I think he knows that himself. It doesn't matter how long he wants to stay here. Progression last year was 6th Europa League Cup. Progression this year is 2nd and hopefully an FA Cup. Progression next year can only be the Premier League or the Champions League. Otherwise, we're going backwards. So that's the sort of... And that's not just me saying that. I think it's abundantly clear that that's the target that Mourinho set for himself in the 3rd year. I think if he wins the title next year, he'll stay longer. I think if he doesn't win the title, I don't think he can. But I don't think we should... I mean, just going back to what Pogba there said, the disappointment... It's good that he's saying that. It's good that he's saying there's a disappointment element to this season that we're so far behind Man City. And there is an element of embarrassment as well. But actually, you know what? I think it's been a big learning curve. And the biggest curve I think we can come out of this is if after Sevilla, Mourinho realises the way we need to play at Manchester United, then that's a massive big positive for me. I just want to bring a couple of stats in here as well. Positive ones, really. Jose, look, I think we are bordering on being quite an old team. He's prioritising signing old players. So I was doing a bit of research this afternoon. And the youngest team to ever win the Premier League, well, I thought it was going to be 96 United because obviously you don't win the title with kids. But obviously there was a few older players there to average it out a bit. It was about 25, just under 25 years, just under 26 years of age, the average team, Manchester United 96. The youngest team to actually win the Premier League was in 2005, and it was just over 25 years of age, the average side, and it was managed by Jose Mourinho, and it was Chelsea. So, Mourinho loves to bring his stats from the past. I bet he doesn't even know that himself. Someone should tell him. He managed the youngest ever average side to win the Premier League with Chelsea in 2005. Now, obviously, that was 13 years ago, but it's quite an interesting one, isn't it? That I'd have to go back and look at that Chelsea team, because I don't think he really developed anybody. I think a lot of it was bought or had been playing quite well anyway. I mean, John Terry would have been quite young then, and Joe Cole bought, Frank Lampard bought, and not bought by Mourinho. So it's not like he's developing players, but it's still an interesting stat, isn't it? Still an interesting stat. Ryan Baines says Fellaini or Susan Boyle. God knows what that conversation's all about, but we'll crack on. And also, I just wanted to throw you another stat as well. This one's going to blow your mind, because I get called Martial FC, and I'm not Martial FC. Well, I am. Whatever it means when you're in your bloody 30s. But I just like Anthony Martial. So what I'm a big defender of is, look, it's up to Jose Mourinho whether he wants to pick Martial and Rashford. I was talking about that on the press conference this afternoon, so I don't want to labour that point. It's up to him. But I believe he should pick him, because, as I've said about Martial, and Rashford to a certain extent, but certainly Martial, he's the player that, when he gets the ball, he's the only player in the United team that really gets me on the edge of the seat, because he can do things that other players can't do. I think he's a fantastic player. So I looked into it this afternoon, because I pretty much knew it anyway, but when you compare Lingard, Martial and Rashford, Martial has played 2 games less than Lingard this season and 3 games less than Rashford. But he's got more goals, he's got more assists, and he's created more chances than both those players. And yet he's played 2 or 3 games less than them this season, which is astounding, really. His actual stats are brilliant. And over the last few days when we've been talking about Martial, there's been a few people in the comments saying he's lazy, he doesn't do enough, he doesn't get enough goals, his stats are rubbish. And that's just, all I'm doing is absolutely sitting down that myth. Now, you make your own mind up about Martial, but do not start saying he doesn't score enough or his assists or anything like that. It's nonsense. It's this whole, the season started in January, idiotic looking at stats. He has been very good this season. He's been crap since we signed Sanchez, but actually his stats before that really do stand out as some of the best in the league. And then the best one of all, considering he's played 3 games less than Rashford, 2 games less than Lingard, he's actually made more tackles than Marcus Rashford. And Marcus Rashford, if you read the comments, he's always a player, he works really hard, he tracks back. Martial's made more tackles than him. Lingard's made more than Martial, but only about 4 more, and he has played 2 more games. So, it's interesting. Even the stats back up the fact. I mean, I don't need stats. I know how good Martial is, but even the stats will show you that Martial's stats are ridiculously good compared to Lingard and Rashford, and actually his work rate's good as well. So, don't fall for the myths is what I would say. Don't fall for the myths. Martial's been quality since we signed him, since Qatar Man 96. Yes, I agree with that. I also want to talk about Ander Herrera as well, and then I'm going to whack into some of your comments. Herrera basically made a quote about Mourinho, saying that he used it as a positive, but he said that basically Jose Mourinho, it's a weird quality, but it's the thing he likes about him the most, is that he just genuinely doesn't care what anybody says about him. He doesn't care. Now, we were talking a little bit about that before on the press conference video, and it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because he genuinely doesn't care what other people think about him, which is good and bad, because that would mean that he genuinely doesn't care for any of our Mourinho outers. He really doesn't care what you think. That would mean he really doesn't care what the press say about him. That would mean he really doesn't care that people criticise the way his team plays. That would mean that he really doesn't care about anything, which could be a little bit of a worry, but I spin it a positive and say, well, if he doesn't care what everybody thinks, why is he suddenly changing the way we play at Manchester United? So, he obviously listens, maybe doesn't care, but he obviously listens. And Durrani says Herrera's basically trying to be nice to Jose so that he doesn't drop him now. I think he still will get dropped, Arani. But he also spoke... That's a nice little leader into what I was going to say. Herrera also said he doesn't know whether he's staying at Manchester United. His contract runs out. He's signed a year extension, so his contract runs out next summer. There has been contract discussions, but at the moment nothing's been signed. He says he loves being at Manchester United, but at the moment he doesn't know what's going to happen. So, interesting about Herrera. Where do you sit on that? Where do you sit on that? It is quite interesting. And... Mark, my friend, who is a Spurs fan, says they are getting Martial in the summer. He believes that he will trade him for Rose since Mourinho wants a new left-back. Well, that's from Jorge Salasa about Spurs thinking they're going to get Martial in exchange for Danny Rose. I will go apeshit if that happens. I will go absolutely mad if that happens. Martial in any sort of swap deal for Danny Rose, I will just, I won't even go live because I'll just be absolutely furious. That would just be ridiculous. I actually think Luke Shaw's better than Danny Rose. I'll have that debate with somebody, but I will not have the debate of Danny Rose being part of a swap deal for Anthony Martial. That would be ridiculous. And actually, it would absolutely epitomise what the problem is. A flair attacker for a defender. That just says it everything, isn't it? That's what everyone fears about. Also, as well, I just wanted to say, before I start taking some of your... I really want to delve into the live comments tonight. That's what it's all about. But I also just want to say as well, I saw another interesting stat. It was about minutes played by youth products this season. Arsenal were like 6,000 minutes. Manchester United were like 5,000 minutes. Manchester City were 45 minutes. But it just it's sad, really, isn't it? It just go to show that money can buy you success. 45 minutes in the Premier League this season, Pep has played youth products. 45 minutes. United have played over 5,000 minutes and Arsenal 6,000. I think Spurs 4,000. Liverpool over 3,000. Manchester City 45 minutes. It's just a very sad stat, I think that is, because Man City have absolutely annihilated the league by many, many points, but it's all bought. There's no youth product in it at all, and I think that's really sad for football. But maybe you want to discuss that. Anyway, let's whack into the live comments. It's a long time since we've done this, and I'm really looking forward to it. Just going to whack into the live comments, chuck your comments out. Interaction City United, sorry. Let's go with it. Andrew says that's awesome, Chris. Good luck with that. I don't know what it's about. Josie doesn't care what you think, says Mark Crisp. Do I look like I don't care what Jose thinks about me either. Why would I care about that? This is just a fan channel, We talk about the club we love. If Mourinho, the Manchester United manager, isn't interested in what the people who pay his wages say, then that's up to him, isn't it? But I don't expect him to have any interest in what we say. But it would be nice if he actually did take some interest in the people that actually are the fundamental part of this club. And there is an important player for us. Rose isn't good enough, says Adil. I think he's mixing up stories there. We're not swapping Ander Herrera for Danny Rose. Apparently it's Anthony Martial. Fellaini is good in terms of a 4 station, says Milan Badar. Thoughts on the new Leeds United kit, says Dan De Gea. I've only seen the pink one. I don't care about what Mourinho thinks, period, says AS7 Alexi. Mark, did you see my message on Instagram? No, not been on it for a while. Jose and Martial, a match made in heaven, says I like Nando's. Do we know all the pre-season games yet, says Milan Badar. No, we don't, do we? We only know 2 so far. Nothing else has been announced yet. I presume they'll be doing that soon. We need to know what the English clubs we're going to be playing over there. Maybe we'll play Real Madrid or Barcelona again as well. And also, I was hoping we were going to play LA Galaxy because there's Zlatan, so I'm eager to know what the games are going to be because we're looking to go over there. United stand, doing a bit of fan cams, interacting with the fans. Shaka Phillips, was Bastian Schweinsteiger good enough for United? I think so. Coming towards the end of his career, picked up a few injuries, but the way you've sort of thrown me under the bus there, Shaka, because the way Mourinho treated Bastian Schweinsteiger was a bloody disgrace, to be honest. I hope Jose leaves this summer, really, says Abdi. Mourinho likes Martial, but Martial has to show... Oh, here we go. I'm so glad. I'm sorry, Alan Tumbalongo, but you're going to get a little bit here because it is all about opinion, and some people will probably agree with what you're going to say. But he says, Mourinho likes Martial, but Martial has to show more. I'm sure next season Martial and Rashford will be ready to start each game. Look, mate, I've just said this. I said it a few minutes ago. Martial's stats, tackling back, scoring goals, assists, and creating chances, wipe the floor with Lingard and wipe the floor with Rashford. So what more can he do when Lingard's starting every week and Martial's stats are better and he's a better player? It's not about that. It's not about Martial doing more. For me, it really is, and I've said this a couple of times, it's very simple. It's about Mourinho not liking Martial. Now, why he doesn't like him, I don't know, because I think he's a fantastic player. But maybe it's as simple as Van Gaal bought him. And if Martial becomes a great player for Manchester United, it won't be Mourinho's great player. It will always be Van Gaal piping up, I bought him, and he was brilliant for me in the first season. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe Mourinho doesn't want to keep, finish the job with Martial because it was someone else's project. I don't know. But the reality is, he doesn't need to do more. He doesn't need to do more. He's gone crap because he got moved from the left wing. And also, if you remember the Newcastle game when Martial played on the right and he missed that one-on-one chance and he's barely played since. And he played on the right against Spurs and he didn't play that well there either. I mean, how much development is that from Mourinho, really? You've got a player who plays on the left. He's been absolutely fantastic on the left. You replace him with a new signing, which you didn't need to do. You put Martial on the right, and then you give him a game and a half to settle in, to compete. I mean, it's like sending someone to live in Australia. The left and the right, it's back to front. It's totally different. Instead of running in from the left, you're running in from the right. Instead of curling it in with your right foot, you're curling it the other way with your right foot or using your left. Martial, if he was going to play him on the right, needed to have 4 or 5 games there to get used to it. He gave him 1 game and a half and then got rid of him. He sets him up to fail all the time. He does. He really does. And, I think Mourinho does a lot of good, but the Martial thing, I just don't get it. Michael Danisa says it's favouritism. It's not about who can do the job best sometimes in life. It's about who is closest to the hierarchy. Well, we've seen that with Fellaini. I don't think anybody can argue that Fellaini is better than McTominay, Herrera, Carrick. But Fellaini has played consistently when he's been fit because he is one of Mourinho's favourites. He's not a good footballer. He's nowhere near the ability of McTominay or certainly not Herrera. But he has played week in, week out. And the same does go for Lingard. I think Lingard's a fantastic player for Manchester United. I think he's really, really useful. But as I said before, he's nowhere near the ability levels of Martial and Rashford. And the myth that they don't track back is a nonsense. I live in Scotland, says Hazo Gaming. I would like to go to Manchester United games. Do you know anywhere to buy tickets? I think if I did, technically I'd be breaking the law by shouting it out on a live video. But I'm sure somebody can help you out. Paul Robinson says, comments on my YouTube write-up. Yeah, I'm going to have a quick look at that, Paul, actually, because it was a good write-up. Shaw is better than Young. This is Michael Jones, I agree with that. Here we go. Gaming YouTuber. Martial doesn't try hard enough in pressing and Mourinho doesn't like that. Well, I think that's a total myth. I really do. I respect your opinion, Gaming Tuber TV. I really do. But I can think of countless times this season where Martial's been in our own box, tracking the right back or the right winger and making a tackle. So I don't agree with that. I think it's a myth perpetuated by people who don't like Martial and support Mourinho in getting him out of the club. That links out there. And you know what? I think it does come from somewhere because I read it in the press. I read it the other day. I read a quote the other day. I wish I'd kept it. It was something along the lines of, it was when Martial said he was going to leave, and it was something like, Martial's not been impressive this season and his work rate's really poor, but he has the potential to be a great player. And I was like, what? He's not been impressive this season and his work rate's really poor. What? You just, where do you get this crap? Really, where do you get it? The simple, if we're talking, and I don't want to get into a Martial debate again, but if we're talking about Martial and his future at Manchester United, it's very simple. You don't need to pull in lies about work rate or lies about not scoring enough or not getting assists, because they are factually lies. The reality is, make your mind up based on the fact Mourinho doesn't pick Martial. That's what it is. It's nothing to do with him not working hard. It's nothing to do with his stats not being good enough. It's just the fact that Mourinho prefers Lingard, sometimes Rashford, and Sanchez over Martial. And the only person who knows why is Jose Mourinho. And if Jose Mourinho was sat opposite me now and said he doesn't work hard enough, I'd say I watch every single game, Jose. I know you're closer than me, but he does work hard. There's the stats. And he does work hard. And actually, you know what? I don't really want my winger to be a right wing back or a left wing back. What I do like about Martial, and he sits down your Lingard, your Mata and your Rashford, is he creates more chances, a lot more chances than anybody else. He scores more than everyone else, and he creates more than everybody else. That's what I want from my winger anyway. Sit down, Mourinho. And then he'd just do me because he's an intelligent bloke. Goal record, please, says Ryan Baines. I don't have it to hand, mate, but it's very easy to check, and I'm 100% telling the truth. When I think he's scored a couple more. I think he's definitely better than all of them. Well, clearly he doesn't. He isn't something Jose wants him to do. Stats don't define a player for a manager, says Chris. Yes, I agree. I hate stats. I've always said that. I don't like stats at all. I judge with my eyes. I wish Mourinho watches the United stand so he understands the fans, says Ahmed. Yeah, he's probably watching EastEnders because he doesn't care what anybody else thinks. I took the train with Lukaku from Stockport to London Euston. Lovely guy. Well, I mean, that's somebody Jose won't shut up about. Lukaku and Matic, he absolutely loves them, don't they? But they are, you know, there's a bit of... there's always a positive spin with Jose, and I like this. It is a positive about him. There's always a positive spin with Jose because it's all about promoting Mourinho, which is why after Sevilla he started talking about his achievements, knocking Manchester United out, and you know we'd just been knocked out by Sevilla, and Mourinho sat there saying, "I've knocked them out twice." You know, it's always about what he's done, what he's done. The reason he talks about Lukaku and Matic so much is because he signed them last summer, so he wants to be like, "Look at my brilliant signings that I've made." Because if we look beyond last summer, Mkhitaryan, that didn't go too well, did it? Pogba, well, what's going on there? Bay, injured a lot. Zlatan, that was a waste of time keeping him for another year. So he wants to focus on Lukaku and Matic, who've had very good seasons, but he's recently signed them. So it's like that. It's like that. Oh yeah, let's focus on them because that's a positive. Mourinho is good at that, and I haven't got a problem with it. Lethal Lou, no matter how well Martial plays, he will never be a guarantee starter as long as Mourinho is in charge. And Nicholas Myers says that Martial is United's second best player. The only one better is De Gea. You know, I sort of do agree with that, Nicholas. I do. The only other person, the other two people I would bring into that conversation, obviously Alexis Sanchez, but he needs to do it consistently, and we've only just signed him. And Paul Pogba, but he's been a bit up and down. I do agree with you on that. We won't see a world-class Martial if Jose is still at United because he ain't going to pick him, says Jack Warsham. I dread to think we will end up becoming like Arsenal or Liverpool with years without a title. It's been too long, says Jack Antoine. Next year is exciting because it's got to be next year for Jose. And this summer is going to be exciting because he's got to improve that midfield. And he's got to improve the defence. People don't mention this enough, and I was pulled up on it last night on the live stream. The right back and the left back are not good enough. They're not good enough. Valencia's not been that good the last 3 or 4 months. I think he's starting to feel it. I think his age is starting to catch up with him. He's been a brilliant servant. He's very, very consistent. I don't think he can play twice in 1 week. I think he's a one game a week player now. And Ashley Young is just an atrocious defender. You know, he's got a brilliant work ethic and he tries really hard. But let's be blunt. He gave away 2 penalties last week, and he got absolutely minced by Sterling. If Sterling could have finished, Ashley Young would have been getting so much hate this week. It's unbelievable. But because he didn't, and we won, and Ashley Young went into the dressing room and went, "Come on, lads, everyone loves Young again." But actually his performance defensively, and has been this season, I mean, I'll sort of give him a bit of leeway against Man City because they are the title winners. But I've seen Nathan Redmond, Mahrez, absolutely annihilating this season. He's just a poor left-back defensively. We need to sort those positions out over the summer. I'm hoping Fosu Mensah can be a backup to Valencia and get some game time next season because that's predominantly where he's been playing for Palace. I think Valencia is good enough for another year, but we need to start thinking about an heir to that throne. What fullbacks do we need to look at, says Scooby? Well, I would look at Fosu Mensah on the right, and down the left-hand side, there's numerous left-backs. Kieran Tierney at Celtic, Alexandro at Juventus, that's the one I would go for. But I still think Luke Shaw could do a job. Oh, here we go. Shane says, what about Ashley Young when he played Liverpool, Mark? Well, you know what as well? The reality is, when we played Liverpool, we did park a bus. Even at home, we did park the bus. And there wasn't a lot... Look, I know a lot of people are a bit worried about Liverpool against Roma, but Roma actually are probably a better team to play Liverpool than Bayern Munich or Real Madrid, because Bayern Munich and Real Madrid will be the favourites against Liverpool like Man City were, so they'll be expected to dictate the game, which allows Liverpool to break and hurt them, and that's where Liverpool are brilliant on the break with Firmino, Mane and Salah. Roma will sit back a bit, and then that makes it more difficult for Mane, Firmino and Salah, because the midfield of Liverpool, it hasn't really got any creativity in it, and those three work better on the break. Breaking teams down that sit deep, they find hard. United sat very deep at Anfield, and we sat very deep at Old Trafford, and that enabled Ashley Young to, have a good game against Salah. But when he's exposed in a one-on-one situation and teams are running at him fast, he's poor. But even every summer we'll have a sunny day. What signings do I want, Matteo? Definitely, I would be looking at. I do want Milankovic-Savic, but not at any price. I still think he's a bit of a risk. If we could pull off Vidal or Fabinho, I think would be very, very important. I would really like Fabinho, because I think we need somebody else in there with Matic who can do the defensive side of things and can rotate the ball. We then need somebody else who's a bit like Pogba, who's more creative. I mean, the dream would be to get Toni Kroos from Real Madrid, but I think they would be so desperate to get De Gea. I don't really want to do any... I don't know about you lot. I don't want to do any business with Real Madrid this summer at all. Guitar Man says, it wouldn't surprise me if Mourinho bought Philipp Lahm out of retirement. The Spookster, this is a possible future 11. De Gea, Fosu Mensah, Bailly, Twansibi, Shaw, Fabinho, Pogba, Angel Gomez, Martial, Rashford, Chong. Oh, it's sensational, mate. We have got some really frightening talent within the team at the moment. Your Martials, your Rashfords, your Shaws. We've got the next layer, which are very close, your Twansibis, your Fosu Mensah, and then we've got the youngsters there. We don't know what's going to happen with the Chongs and the Gomez, but the big indicator there is we should be looking at that youth and developing it, not looking at bringing Williams and Sanchez's in. One or two is fine. I'm happy with Sanchez, but another 29, 30-year-old in the summer, or two of them, come on, look behind you, look at what's there. Let's bring some of that through, because I think a lot of it's ready now. I do. I'd take James Rodriguez, Tabang. Yeah, I would do. He's only 26 as well. Really, I really do like him. But I think we should have gone for him last year. I think, George Mendes is his client. We could have done something there. Paul Robinson put a comment on the Jose Mourinho. If you haven't seen it, do watch it after this video, the Jose Mourinho press conference video. And he put up a comment on there, sort of inviting other people to comment. And he said, do we support Jose Mourinho or Manchester United? Is it a choice? Does his divisive nature naturally put you at the crossroads? Winning trophies aside, does Mourinho's philosophy conflict with United's ideology and historic identity? I won't list all the reasons why this may be the case, as I think they've been played out in the last 18 months. He is a born winner, and he is one of the few managers that can handle the immensity of the biggest club in the world and could bring us titles we all desire, but will immediate gratification come with the penance of possibly losing some real talent and rebuilding an ageing squad upon Mourinho's eventual departure? And I think we spoke about this earlier in the week. It's like Mourinho may bring some immediate success in, but is that going to be at the detrimental of Manchester United's long-term future if you do lose? I mean, it's not even about losing them. People say, oh, Rashford's only 20. I think Rashford could be at the vast majority of Premier League clubs playing week in, week out. Let's not forget, he's been around for 2 years. He's been playing for England for 2 years. He's been playing for Manchester United for 2 years. He's not just suddenly appeared and happy with the odd game off the bench. He is a first-team player not getting first-team football. And that means his development is not developing. And also, Marcus Rashford's a number 9. Putting him on the wing and teaching him how to play on the wing, he's a number 9. So I think Rashford, it's not about whether Rashford will leave or Martial to a certain extent. It's about development. They should be playing more football. And the fact that they're not playing more football means you're stagnating their development. And maybe that is a bit short-termism. I don't know. In some answers, Paul Taylor, Paul Robinson, people mooned that Fergie left as an ageing squad. It's taken 4 to 5 years to rebuild it, but will we have to rebuild it again once Jose leaves? And it is a realistic concern. And somebody else said, who do you support, Martial or United? And RJ Bizzle, I back Mourinho, but I definitely understand how his persona doesn't quite mesh with the type of manager a large portion of United fans would want. His tactics and nature rubs so many people up the wrong way, but he's a brilliant football man and I think he will bring us a title. We've had a really good year aside from the Sevilla debacle, despite so many fans being unhappy. Yeah, you know, you cannot lie the fact that we have come second in the league, and I think we will come second in the league. You cannot underestimate that we're still in the FA Cup, but I think, well, Manchester United, I was going to say we're spoiled. We're not spoiled. You know, we are one of the biggest clubs in the world, and there should be an expectation that you're always challenging for titles. We haven't done that this year. Sevilla was a debacle, but I'm encouraged by the last few weeks, and I hope it can last. How Mourinho seems to have changed a little bit about how he wants us to play. That's the most important thing for me, because that is what the fans want. We want to see a certain standard of football. Success at any rate isn't going to be enough. Success grinding out 1-0 wins isn't going to be enough. But there is a valid point about what sort of team is he building to try and win this title, and if he was to walk away in a year's time, will he leave us with Matic, Sanchez right at the end of their career with no future, and whoever else he brings in of that age, we'll have to see. Varane or Titi, Mark, says Josh James. Varane, definitely. Beckham Foonfon says, what do you think is Manchester United's best formation? I don't think it's about formation. I think it's about the way we play, because you can put any formation you want, but if the tactics are to be conservative and not press, then it doesn't matter what the formation is. I liked the formation in the second half last week. As I've said, I don't know why people are calling it a 4-2-2-2-2-2-2-2. It was a 4-3-3, and I liked it because it was the way we pressed the ball and moved the ball quickly. I think against the big teams, that's the way to go. I mean, the sad thing is, we spoke about this in the summer. We spoke about this in the summer when we signed Matic. Oh, we're going to play Matic, Herrera and Pogba. What a good balanced three that is. It's taken till last week to do that. That is our best team against the better teams. 4-3-3. I like that. However, when we are against the lesser teams, like West Brom at home at the weekend, do you really want to play Herrera, Matic and Pogba? I think we can do. You can just say Matic sit and Herrera and Pogba really got license to go forward. But actually, I'd probably mix it up a bit and say Matic sit, play Pogba with an attacking licence, and then use an extra attacker, whether it's Sanchez centrally, Martial and Mata with Lukaku up front. That's what I would like to see. So I suppose it's going back to the 4-2-3-1, which I think a lot of people don't like the 4-2-3-1 because of the football we played with the 4-2-3-1. But if we actually played the 4-2-3-1 at home against the lesser teams, and we pressed and we moved the ball quick, it would work really well. Pankaj, he didn't. Look at the heat map. He was the more attacking left-sided attack of the three. It was a 4-3-3. I'll argue this with anybody. It was a 4-3-3 last week, and it's statually there for anybody who wants to go and look at it. He definitely didn't play as an attacking midfielder, as a number 10. We did not play with a number 10 against Man City last week. Mark, we should buy 4 world-class players, 2 centre midfielders, 1 centre-back, and then a left-back, and then we can challenge in the league and the Champions League, says Jack Warshon. Look, we can challenge for the league if we sign nobody. We can challenge for the Champions League if we sign nobody. The sad thing about the Champions League this year is that Liverpool and Roma, one of those are going to be in the Champions League final. If you'd have said that to me in February before the first knockout stage, I pretty much could predict who was going to be in the semi-finals, and it was going to be 4 big teams: Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and then take your pick from the rest. Liverpool and Roma should not deserve to be there, but I'm surprised they're there, and that could be Manchester United. Manchester United on their day can beat Liverpool and Roma. The fact that we're not there is again embarrassing as to how many points we are behind Manchester City. It's a failure on our part. So we don't need to sign anybody. We could have won the Champions League this year. it's a stretch, but because Liverpool and Roma are there, then why can't we be there? It really is about not what's the best formation, not what signings we're going to make. And we do need to make signings so we've got a better squad and improve areas, and we will make signings. But we've not actually utilised, in a sentence, we've not got the best out of the squad we've got this season because we haven't played the right football. We've not played the right way. We've been too conservative and too worried about not letting goals in, when actually we've got some really good flair players, your Pogbas, and we should have been looking to impose ourselves on the game. And I think we could have done a lot better. I don't know whether we would have caught City. We would be a bit closer to them, and we'd certainly got further in the Champions League if we just had a go at Sevilla. I mean, why we didn't do that? I don't want to go down that road again. Would I swap Martial for Dybala and Sandro, says Pankaj? No, I'm not swapping. There's no, I don't, no, I wouldn't, no. I wouldn't swap Lukaku for Dybala and Sandro. I wouldn't swap Bay for Dybala and Sandro. I'm not going to let a player that I think is important to Manchester United go to get 2 new players in, who I do rate, who might not be successful. Just pay the money for them. Don't get rid of talent. Next year's our year, says Calamity Jones. I know he's being ironic, but I hate that statement because we know what loser club uses that. Beckham's watching from Thailand. Why do you think Jose plays Lingard through the centre but never gives Mata a chance there, says Rush Spirits. It's one of the confusions of football. It's very similar to Fellaini. Moyes, Van Gaal and Mourinho have all played him as a centre defensive midfielder. He's a number 10. And he's not a top 4 number 10. We never should have bought him. Mata, Van Gaal and Giggs. Moyes bought him. Giggs managed him for a little bit. 3 games. Van Gaal and Mourinho. So that's 4 managers have not played Juan Mata as a number 10. And I saw Mata when he was at Chelsea, and he's a number 10 every day of the week. I don't know why we put him on the right hand side. I don't know why he's never really been given a run at number 10, but it's just not going to happen, is it? And Jacobs made a good statement. Martial, if given a chance, can be as good as Salah. You know what? Everyone will say you're joking, Jacob, sit down, you're an idiot and all that lot, but actually you're probably right, because if anybody can remember where Salah was last year at Roma, he wasn't one of the best players in Italy, let alone one of the best players in the world. He's now one of the best players in the world. It just shows you, in the right setup, with the right focus, then you're laughing. And yeah, Martial could be that good. He could be that good. I think so. VK Dean says, it's obvious why he plays Lingard over Mata. Jose plays without the ball, so work rate and running is more important than skill on the ball. Which is a very good point, and I've spoken about this before. There is, and it's infiltrated our fan base a bit. There is this bit of an obsession with, it's what they do off the ball, Mark. The amount of times I've read that this week, you know what? It amazes me. But that's very true. Jose does value what people do off the ball, and their work rate off the ball. But actually, if you really look at that and are very simplistic about it, what does it mean, work rate and off the ball? There's a very, very, very quick equation to that. And that is, if you haven't got the ball, the opposition have got the ball. If you're working hard, the opposition are doing something. It's conservative and it's negative. So if anybody ever says to me, "Wow, he doesn't work hard off the ball," his work rate's not good. That's not what I want from Manchester United. I know you've got to do that, but actually, when I'm picking players, I'm more interested in what they do with the ball. How many chances they created, how many assists they've got, how many goals they score, how much they get the game going, how quick they are with the ball. They're the things I'm thinking about. I don't really want to think about work rate and how what they're doing off the ball, because it's called football for a reason, And I think we are falling into a little bit of a trap, and I think our manager fell into that trap with the Sevilla game, and I think he's trying to change that now. It's not about what's going off the ball or how hard you work. It's about what you do with the ball. And actually, when we're talking about work rate, if you want to have a look at some stats, Manchester City, Liverpool, Spurs, their work rate statistically is elite compared to Manchester United, and their possession stats are elite compared to Manchester United, because when they've got the ball, they know what to do with it. When they haven't got the ball, they press and they get it back quickly. And that's why their fitness levels and work rate are better than ours. So all this, it's what they do off the ball and work rate, we're not one of the best teams in the league for doing it anyway. The teams who are best at it are actually the best footballing teams as well, because they've got both down on lockdown. Please do drop a like on the video. We've got quite a few people watching tonight, so please do watch. Please do drop a like. Let's see if we can get 500 likes while we're live. And if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. You are very welcome on the United Stand, and I'm thoroughly enjoying taking your questions tonight and interacting with you. Work rate and off the ball movement is critical in football, says Scotty Kid. I totally disagree with you, mate. I totally disagree with you. I really do. I think it's a factor, but it's not essential, and it's not the most important thing. You know what? I could play for Manchester United on Sunday against West Brom, and I'll work my arse off. I'm quite fit at the moment. I'll work my arse off, and I'll run around. I tell you what, I'll put in one of the worst performances you've ever seen since Fellaini last played, because what I'd be like on the ball compared to all them lot is rubbish. It's what you can do with a football that defines you as a football player. Otherwise, you'd go and get bloody, what's his face? What's his name? I can think of him. Mo Salah. Mo Salah, not that bloody Liverpool one, the one who does the running for Great Britain. We'd go and get him because he'd never stop running. His work rate's fantastic. And the running he'd do off the ball would put everyone to shame. It's not about work rate. It's not about what you're doing off the ball. It's about what you do with the ball. And this is what Manchester United need to get back to. And I think this is what Mourinho realises he's got to do. It's what we do with the football. All this work rate crap, forget it. We're not Stoke City. We're not a team that needs to be worrying about what the other team's doing with the ball so that we've got to work hard. We should be in control of the ball, not having to work hard because we've got the confidence in the flair and ability that we've got. This work rate crap is ridiculous. It's ridiculous for a club like Manchester United. Of course you've got to be able to tackle. Of course you've got to be able to get the ball back. But Man City's mantra is not work rate and what we do off the ball. Spurs and Liverpool's mantra is not work rate and what we do off the ball. They have a simple thing. When we haven't got the ball, go and bloody get it quickly. You remember Barcelona? You've got to get it back within 5 seconds. They want the ball. And they'll go and get the ball very quickly. Simple as. Mo Farah, not Mo Salah. Mo Salah. Mo Farah, yeah, you've got it. This might be a stupid question, but why does Martial as an attacker need to work back, says Zane Scope? Well, I'm going to defend people a little bit there. I mean, if you've got a winger who's fantastic, but they can also track back as well, you've got the hybrid. You have. But, you know, Ronaldo never really liked tracking back. Hazard doesn't really do it. But then you've got wingers who are wingers because they, you know, if you look down the lower leagues and you look down the lower teams in the Premier League, you'll get a lot of wingers like Albrighton at Leicester, who's very, very good at the defensive side of games because he plays in a team that's quite defensive and he's going to struggle against a lot of teams. Yeah, he's got a decent cross on him, but most of his assets are defensive. When you go higher up the league, you'll see people like Salah, Hazard, as I mentioned, whose main assets are attacking and flair. Yeah, they can do a little bit of work, but really that's not what they're there for. They're there to win your games. And I think we've got lost this season, especially under Jose. I think he's put too much emphasis on this conservative, hard work, defensive element of his attackers, when actually, let the horses run free. That's the way to do it. Take a risk. Martial's dribbling makes up for his tracking back. The thing is, though, he does track back. I don't want to keep going on about Martial. I've already proved it wrong. Anybody else who wants to say he doesn't track back, he doesn't work hard, you're wrong. And the stats are there. You're trying to convince yourself for some reason that he's not doing things that he does do. The reality is, Mourinho just doesn't pick him. Come on, we've only got 357 likes. Let's see if we can whack that up to 500 and I'll stay on. If not, I'll go. Simple as that. Aquilius Halton, yeah, Eto ended up being a fullback. At Inter, he had him tracking back. But can you remember that Inter team that knocked Barcelona out? And I know Mourinho won the Champions League with them, but those 2 games against Barcelona, I can sort of understand why he did it, because they were, Barcelona were a very good team. But that was, Eto was like a fullback. Sandeep, I keep hearing about Fellaini to Liverpool. I think it would be absolutely fantastic if he went to Liverpool. I would love it if he went to Liverpool. I don't think he will. But I would absolutely love it if he did. Martial is not too good to involve his teammates. The vision and passing skill. I'll tell you what, I know he's probably trolling me, United, but this is great. He says, Martial is not good to involve his teammates. The vision and passing skills are very low. Yeah, okay. So he's created more chance than anybody this season. He's got more assists than anybody this season, but his passing skills and his vision are really poor. Okay, we'll move on. What a cracking comment that was. Is Milankovic-Savic too similar to Pogba? LW10? Not really. No, not really. They're quite. They are. They are more attacking midfielders, but Milankovic-Savic, they're not. I'd like to see one on the left and one on the right. I'll tell you what. Going back to that Fellaini thing, I would love Fellaini to go to Liverpool. It would be perfect. That's all I'm going to say, because I hate Liverpool, so it would be perfect. Hi Mark, greetings from a Chilean here. Love the channel, sir. So Snake Eater, love the comment. And United, I thought you might be trolling me. I shouldn't read the troll comments really. And I'm not answering any more questions on Martial. Russell's told me. And I'd rather have Andres Pereira, who's a born United, got more potential proven, and Luke Shaw instead of that old Alexandro, says Darani. Yes. I still don't get why we don't don't do the natural cross. Even the goals against City were from an inverted cross. Yeah. And Kieran Byrne. Yeah, I do follow him, but they're old school, mate. There's still... I mean, Kieran's just talking about somebody on Twitter who was having a go at people on Twitter who were Martial fanboys, but he's a Jose fanboy. The thing is, look... he also was on about how trying to ridicule fan channels and stuff like that, and saying, oh, it only appeals to the global fans who've got no idea what it's like to go to a ground. And it's the whole, I'm from Manchester, I know what I'm on about, I'm older than you. It's ridiculous, it's absolutely ridiculous. Manchester United are actually advertising a few jobs at the moment, and those jobs, although you're working for Manchester United, are in London, because Manchester United are a business. They play their games in Manchester. They were born in Manchester, but they're a global club and they're a global business. And people can have whatever bloody opinion they like. If they support the club, they support the club. I just don't think you grade yourself as a Manchester United fan. You might sit in your own house going, "Oh, I'm a grade A Manchester United fan." Good luck for it. Good luck to you, pal. At the end of the day, if you support Manchester United, you're part of the community. That's it. I've never been one who's like, oh, he's a top red, let's bow down to what he says. It's nonsense. We're all United fans. We've all got our own opinions. Let's crack on. What has Pogba done, says Kyle Williams? Simply, he just said that his big Manchester United regret is that they were brilliant in the second half against Man City, but this season they've been pretty inconsistent and poor. And if they'd played like that all season, they should have won the title. But I do disagree with him. I think it's been I think we've had a good season. Well, we haven't had a good season, but I think for what we've been through this season, i.e., the conservative football, the signing of Sanchez, the dips in form for some of our big players, to be consistently second all season, Jose's right. We do deserve it. Doesn't mean we'll get it. We do deserve it. But I don't think we were a title-winning team this year. I don't agree with Pogba. I don't think we could play consistently well enough this season to be a title-winning team. It's all about next season for United. And I just want to see us over the next few games, especially Spurs. I want to see that same second half performance that we saw against Man City, where we're pressing and we're trying to move the ball quicker. How many times have we discussed this over the last few months, that United's big problem is the midfield? It's so static. We don't get the ball from back to front quick enough. By the time our forwards get it, the opposition are already all in place. You look at teams like Liverpool and Spurs, when they attack, they've got teams stretched because they move it really quickly. We've always been slow at it. Over the last couple of games, we've been quite quick at it. And that's what I want to see keep developing. Anyhow, I'm gonna shoot off because I'm out of beer and I need to get another one. Thanks everyone for watching. We've got a video going up for you tomorrow and tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, of course. What am I on about? Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And have a good weekend. It is the weekend here. We've got 3 United games coming up in a week, which is good. Sunday, West Brom, Wednesday, Bournemouth, and then the FA Cup semi-final next Saturday. Can't wait for that. Thanks everyone for watching, and drop a like on the video on the way out. And really enjoyed the show tonight. Gonna do more of these. Where we're just interacting because I really enjoy it. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you all soon.